on this lovely solar eclipse day for the 5D Collective, Mystics and Not, we have the balancing of divine masculine, divine feminine energies. Let me begin with a couple of quotes. Sadhguru, spirituality, lovely guru. If you overflow with humanity, divinity has to descend. Also, love is freedom and joy. Attachment is bondage and misery. Now let me move to our lovely Dr. Daniel Siegel, Mindsight Institute founder and the lovely human being, therapist, and all these other titles that I'll never remember, but one of the many that I learn about attachment and trauma from. But he's the most important in this moment in time, since I learn all about integration. So integration of the brain, I have it, and you can have it too. And the 5D Collective is open to it because they say, I have a self, and I'm not a solo self, and I have emotions and thoughts like anybody else. It's called bilateral integration potential. Self-awareness, did I respond or react? Were my emotions in the mix or not? It's called being a, in my book, common sense human being. But with the attachment trauma information, I know that, well, no, maladaptive child behavior, the teenagers out there, the shame cycle, in many different ways, shapes, and forms, they have what is called the human suffering love narrative for the IHP community. And some, they get aware of it and they go and get good child parts work, EMDR, and somatics, good therapy. And then they add mystic stuff too. Now, the ones who are instead on Elsa's journey, which is a 4D collective as well as a 3D, we're just going to put it simply, they are not aware that they have a 3-year-old who wishes that they welcome themselves back home, and the 1-year-old, so they don't learn to be their self and that they're the one they're looking for. They have a whole bunch of different ways that they will go to Peter Pan's and Wendy's and so on and so forth. That is not the 5D Collective. The 5D Collective is self-aware. They're self-reflective to the very bare minimum of my emotions affect somebody else if I'm using them and projecting them. So you'll see them talking about politics and religion and everything and anything, mystics. They don't define us as evil witches or bitches or any of that. Solo polyamory, you can come on over here. And remember, secure attachment people, those are the balanced divine masculines, divine feminines, because that's what empowerment is. It means that I'm not going to call you a name. I mean, it's one thing if you're a comedian, we're doing entertainment, but in the real world, we don't actually think that I can go around insulting you, which is instead what we've been seeing a lot of. But that's because, when change takes place, which is a societal cultural change, and that is what's taking place, we have this very present thing called, if you read your history books, I read about it as a political science major, so no big deal. Let's keep moving forward. That's why time and space never change and stuff like that. Let me read Daniel Siegel. Integration made visible is kindness and compassion, and he shares how the road to integration can be incredibly energizing because of what you're doing, and how essentially become a secure attachment figure. So 5D Collective, we're Pachas, okay? And that's why if you overflow with humanity, well, divinity has to descend. So divinity is a consciousness, a big ball of energy. We're not going to define it. But let me use, Daniel shared that lovely definition of spirituality from others who have defined it. And anyone who is actual spirituality. I began with Jesus, and Jesus continues to be who I look to, but I've also integrated and expanded to thank you, Sadhguru, for your lovely wisdom, and having my own relationship with Akash consciousness. I bring to you, it's the essence of life and love. It's still representative of the word God that I learned as a child, the word Akash that I get to channel and download, and it does nudge. It's true. I remember when I learned that from Sadhguru, and then I started to get nudged. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I am being nudged. Your energy body expands. It's not frightening. There's no need to go through some Kundalini awakening or spirituality awakening that says ego, death, dark night of the soul, because your ego don't die. Your 3-year-old stays with you. Yourself too. It's a verb. You get to expand it, which is why for those of us who don't think of our behavior as changed, thank you, Mom. It's because we didn't disconnect from our restorative embodiment. So I'm not changed. I'm the 3-year-old me, but I'm a grown-up me, and then I learn a lot of things. And here's where, spirituality people say, you don't have a self. So yeah, we're one big ball of energy, but I do have a name. It's Maria, which is why I'm still a vessel that will always be here. But I can put my stuff to the side and come to you. But the reality is I still come to you as a human being who has a past. And so to exclude it completely is bullshit. It's not ever going to be completely excluded. Even the words I use and how I choose to express my mannerism, my demeanor, all of it has everything to do. Thank you, Robert M. Sapolsky. Determined. I have stuff coming with me. But I'm able to say, you know what, you're right. I need to revisit that thing or that thing. So when you have grown-ups, you get to know how, yeah, we might not all be the same, but we complement. So divine masculine complements me, a divine feminine, and that's where we're at today in a very beautiful way. Spirituality, a way of living with meaning and connection beyond the solo self. Okay, so this solar eclipse, balancing of the energies. Let me share. When we are learning about expansion from a suffering heart, it's because of us being nervous systems. It's not because you have to suffer. So I learned about suffering from Jesus. And I was like, that a lot of people are suffering. And then from psychology, I learned why. And now I can tell you why. Thank you again, Daniel Siegel. They have lack or impeded bilateral integration stuff going on. So they need a good therapist to work with their 0-1-year-old and then their 3 to 7-year-old for sure, because the first 3 years are implicit memory. And your embodied brain, your nervous system, has everything to do with it. So you will have learned either secure attachment in this thing called body or not. And how you relate to others and emotions will depend on that. So if you have avoidant, and that's the one we're going to focus on, because avoidant is shut down from their body. And because also avoidant, fearful, these are the styles, but essentially the avoidant will shut down the disorganized attachment. They will come in and out and do a lot of different things. So in both cases, they don't handle emotions, while the preoccupied avoidance style, the preoccupied style and / the ambivalent attachment category, they get revved up. So they're really, really hyper emotional. And if you give them a timeline of how to expect that you will come, they will eventually, their nervous system will learn to relate to you. So the avoidant and ambivalent categories, they are organized, which makes their self able to lead relationships, but they both have different ways. The avoidant will skip out on having emotional relationships. The disorganized attachment, on the other hand, has a subset category of secure, avoidant, or ambivalent, and they have a fragmented self because there's inner conflict. The attachment system longs to attach. The defense system says, no, it's not safe. Okay, so this is where I'm attachment trauma informed, but I'm woo-woo pseudoscience lady because I'm bringing you mystic stuff, okay? So I'm right now channeling as a person for mystics or not, but it's pseudoscience is fine. That's exactly why woo-woo pseudoscience. Also, I forget shit. So on that note, as we run out of time, what I really wanted to discuss was that aspect of how the divine masculine feminine energy don't need special keys or special people. Nobody needs the Elsa journey of humanity needing to be saved, because we are not in peril. We are a society and a globe that is going through changes. But when we look outside, what we have are a lot of people who have unfinished business. So their maladaptive child behavior is what we see. And they are both, whether they consider themselves divine feminine or divine masculine, the divine masculine is not usually connected to anything spirituality related. Although, now that I remember, no, that's not true. Long story short, though, let's equate it to this. Cusco's lie to themselves. I don't have feelings, but I'm going to say you're an asshole. Okay, well, you do have feelings because you just said I'm an asshole. Okay, so long story short, when you meet people who are divine masculines and they're awakened to themselves, it's really refreshing. They have emotional awareness, self-awareness, and then a divine feminine, and them can talk. So it's about people learning how to be their grown-up version, which is your choice. You get to choose if, when you and I are interacting, you care to treat me like a person. So it's very straightforward. Just with attachment trauma information, we now know that maladaptive children behavior are all people that could use a good therapist. They tend to choose the human suffering love narrative because they succumb to their very own fear of facing emotions, which is actually something all the therapists talk about. So unless a human being decides, you know what, I want to choose love, I want to stop having this human suffering thing, I'm going to go and get good therapy, like our Patrick Tiahan says, if they don't choose it, they're going to continue doing their codependent relationships. For us, we get to bring in the balanced divine masculine, divine feminine together and to share secure attachment. Pacha is what we are, whole 3-year-old hearts.